All right, let's just dive right in. The job interview. We all know it. And in today's Indian market, it's not just a chat, it's a high stakes performance, right? The pressure is absolutely on. And if you've been feeling that heat, trust me, you are not the only one. And wow, this quote from a forum for Indian developers, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's what so many people are feeling. It's less about finding the best person for the job and more about finding the first tiny reason to say nope, next. It's turned into this brutal game of survival.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually win a game when it feels like the rules are totally different now? The old advice? It doesn't always cut it anymore. To really get ahead, you've got to understand the new playbook. What's happening, why it's happening, and most importantly, what you can do to turn the tables.
Okay, so first things first, let's break down why these interviews feel like you're running some kind of impossible gauntlet. Because it's not just in your head, there are very real things happening in the job market that are creating this super competitive, super tough environment. Here's the deal. There's a massive supply of candidates, way more than the number of open jobs, and that's given companies the power to filter people out, and fast. So what does that look like for you? It means interviews are often designed to catch you slipping up. You get hit with tricky, out-of-the-blue questions right from the get-go. And yeah, as a lot of people have pointed out, sometimes it can definitely feel like an interviewer's on an ego trip, just trying to stump you instead of actually getting to know you. But here's where it gets really interesting. All that market pressure, that's only half the story. There's also this deep psychological and cultural thing going on that kind of shapes the whole interview before you even say a single word. Let's get a little academic for a second, but stick with me because this is huge. There's this concept from social psychology called injunctive norms. Basically, they're the unwritten rules in our head about how we should act. And in many cultures, especially in India, these unspoken rules get super powerful when we're face to face with an authority figure, like, say, an interviewer. And this creates a real tug of war inside our heads. What you want to do is show off your skills, be yourself, achieve your goals. But what you feel you should do is often dictated by that pressure from the person in charge. So you end up being way more cautious, way more formal, and maybe a little less you. And that right there, that's the kicker. Research actually shows this tendency to defer to authority can be especially strong in Indian cultural settings. In an interview, it can accidentally make that power imbalance even bigger. So you end up feeling like a student being tested instead of a potential partner or collaborator. Okay, understanding the psychology is one thing, but let's get super practical. Now that we know this power dynamic is at play, what are the common tripwires? Let's talk about the red flags that interviewers are really looking for.
So check this out. A huge survey of hiring managers found something pretty surprising. The biggest deal breakers, they're often not about your technical skills at all. They're about your behavior. Topping the list, things like a lack of eye contact and being dishonest. A massive 67 and 66% of managers said these were reasons to pass. Glancing at your phone, that's a deal breaker for 64%. These little signals can completely sink your chances before you even get to the hard questions.
So you've got to get your body language on your side. We're talking about projecting confidence, not arrogance. Simple things, right? Sitting or standing up straight, not slouching. Offering a firm handshake, keeping your arms open, not crossed up, and making that steady, natural eye contact. These are all conscious choices you can make that scream engagement and self-assurance. And speaking of things that make us anxious, let's tackle a big one, especially for a lot of candidates in India, the education gap. Maybe you took a year or two off to prep for competitive exams like NEET or JEE, or for other personal reasons. It's a huge source of stress for so many people. So, what's the game plan? Well, the advice from people who've successfully navigated this is crystal clear. Just be honest. Don't make up some complicated story. Frame that time as a period of intense focus and dedication. You were chasing a really difficult goal, and that shows you have grit. The key is to own it with confidence. Seriously, how you talk about the gap is way more important than the gap itself. And this brings us to what it's all been leading up to, our final and honestly most important section. It's time to stop playing defense, just trying to avoid mistakes, and start playing offense. It's time to craft your narrative. This is a total mindset shift. The entire game changes the second you stop seeing the interview as a test you have to pass and start seeing it as an opportunity to tell your success story. You're not just there to answer questions, you're there to show them how you add value and how you solve problems. And the absolute best tool for this is something called the STAR method. It's a super simple but incredibly powerful way to structure your answers. Instead of just saying you're a team player, you give them proof. You start with the situation, describe the task you had, explain the action you took, and, this is the most important part, you share the result with numbers if you can.
Okay, let's see this in action, because this is where the magic happens. They ask you about collaboration. The weak answer is just, oh, I'm a good team player. Okay, but a star answer, it tells a story. In a college project, that's the situation, we had to coordinate tasks. That's the task. So I set up meetings and gave out roles. That's the action. And we finished the project ahead of schedule. That's the result. See the difference? One's an opinion, the other is proof.
And please, please remember this. An interview is a two-way street. It is not an interrogation. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is getting to the end and having zero questions for them. Silence doesn't make you look easygoing. It makes you look uninterested. Your questions are your secret weapon. They show you're already thinking like you're on the team. Ask about priorities. Ask how they measure success. Ask about the team's biggest challenges. These questions show that you're not just looking for a job. You're looking to come in and make a real impact in this job. And that brings us all the way back to the beginning, doesn't it? When you shift your mindset and you use these strategies, you literally transform the entire experience. It stops being that terrifying elimination round you just have to survive, and it becomes a selection conversation, a conversation that you can actually lead. At the end of the day, preparation is everything. Your knowledge, your stories, your body language, and your questions, that's your power. So as you get ready for that next interview, just remember, the final question is always yours. So what are you going to ask to prove that you're not just another candidate, but that you're the solution they've been searching for?